The internet is a big dumpster.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show almost every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. We probably didn't expect to be here tonight, but I'm broke, and I don't know, the councilman just fucking is as a father now, so no shenanigans.
Yeah, dad life definitely prevents me from getting out and doing all the things anymore. And besides, I was never really all that into doing all the things on New Year's anyway. I tend to party into the night on those random days like, Flag Day, Arbor Day.
Arbor Day.
New Year's Eve.
Is Arbor Day. Don't go out because all the fucking hippies go out and get drunk and they're not used to that shit.
Right. And the Ents are coming for you. So watch out. But yeah, so I tend to party on those kind of days, and I leave the big holidays, the big overnight holidays like New Year's to all the rest of y'all to party down. So hopefully, viewer is here tonight, and listener, you're downloading later and you're curing your hangover with another Down Ballot podcast. But hey, we thought we'd bring you a little extra. And since it's the last day of the year, why not a year in review 2024? Because there's been so much derp that's gone down. I can't believe how much we've covered, but it would be great to look back on all of it.
Yeah, you did an excellent job on this docket, by the way. Fucking killer.
Thank you. Hopefully we don't get too deep into the chat, but some of these stories are still ongoing, so I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about.
And some of them, like the fucking first one, seems to have just entirely disappeared from the conversation.
Exactly. Well, should we just jump right into it? I figured we'd go a little chronological and just sort of start at the beginning of the year and look back on some of the big stories that hit and when they hit, and then we can do a little bit of awards towards the end of the program for the year that's passed. But yeah, going back to January, beginning of the year, a lot of the chatter around the Bay Area and in local politics was about California Forever. It was this bucolic Norman Rockwell style prefab community that was being proposed to be built on land near Travis Air Force Base up near forgetting precisely
Sonoma
where
County.
the Sonoma County area. There you go. Basically on that way between the Bay Area and Sacramento. So basically creating a brand new city out of nothing and imagining all manner of people moving there and living there and working there and playing there. And it was just all very, very pretty and nice. So they had some much fanfare at the beginning of the year, and this is going to be a little bit of that. They unleashed some maps and visions and some more information about what they were planning. But the real secret here is that the funders behind this are your Peter Thiel-esque tech bro billionaires that are funding this. For what reasons, anyone can guess, but really
it's because that they want to bring back the company town.
That might just be it, right? Envision all sorts of tech bros and their tech bro families and tech bro wets.
But they ruined San Jose, and so now they have to build a brand new city to ruin.
Right. They love that, San Jose is getting a little dirty in certain places, but they love like the Willow Glen, right? So they'll just make one big Willow Glen. A city out of it, which is ironically what Willow Glen used to be. But we're going to hear more about that in this clip, and we'll talk about it on the backside.
You've heard it by now. It's called California Forever. It's a project aimed at creating a new city in Sonoma County. And today, the billionaires behind it got one step closer to getting the proposal on the November ballot. As NBC Bay Area's Emma Goss explains, the goal is to get voters to approve the project, even if the county isn't on board.
Today's filing addresses a range of community concerns that have come up about the ambitious development. It also outlines 10 voter guarantees offering Solano County residents various financial...
Oh, it's Solano County, not Sonoma County.
There you go. Yeah, Solano County.
Greenlight the project.
The community is 18,600.
This guy, they're like
yes, we'll all recall
We're like, find the most unrelatable person in the country.
Is there someone from the Hitler Youth? I mean, is Hitler Youth a thing? Can we find like the leader of that and have them be the spokesperson? Lovely.
Speaking to a crowd of enthusiastic Solano County residents, the developers behind California Forever made their biggest pitch yet for a new city.
We've created a set of 10 voter guarantees that you will find in the project initiative.
Those guarantees cover a wide range of critics' concerns about the plan to build a new private city, promising Solano County benefits, including job creation, affordable housing, environmental protection, additional security around Travis Air Force Base, educational scholarships, and no...
I don't think people were worried about the security at the Air Force Base.
That's actually the one thing I'm sure they were not so much worried about.
In fact, when the Air Force Base heard that these people were going to be trying to provide them extra security, now the Air Force Base is a little bit worried about you.
Right, just a tad. I'm guessing it's the neighbors that were worried about, I don't know, unhoused people in their hood, right, near the Air Force Base, and wondering, what is the Air Force going to do about these people?
The Air Force is going to do nothing. They're not in the air.
Correct.
The area's water resources.
This is a plan that not only protects but significantly enhances the mission of Travis for many generations to come.
Some Solano County residents,
Believe me.
they can't wait to see it on the ballot in November.
I am super excited. I feel like this is a vision that has been like floating around, if you will, the ethers for quite a while.
How long is this going to take to get built? You know, what's that process going to look like?
While others worry developers are over-promising and will under-deliver. Have they been able to answer your concerns at all?
They don't want to listen to our concerns. Every time somebody makes a concern, they poo-poo it like it's not going to happen.
I'm very excited.
Patrice Lewis, a Vallejo mother of 3, is the Fairfield field director for the ballot measure.
I'm directly in the field, so
Carpetbagger.
canvassing, talking
Right.
to business owners.
As she sees it, California Forever creates an opportunity for her children to afford to buy a home in the Golden State someday.
Those
now,
look
she
like
says,
rental properties.
It doesn't seem possible.
It'll be like, life-changing, honestly.
California Forever still needs to gather the required number of signatures to qualify for the November ballot. After that, it's up to Solano County voters whether or not it moves forward. In Rio Vista, Emma Goss, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah. Looks like a lot of townhomes and flats, really, and they're calling it affordable housing, which is just hilarious. Like, affordable compared to what? Right? Like, compared to Willow Glen? Proper? Yeah. But I love that gal's definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, the organizer. I mean, her eyes are wide, right? You can see the whites all the way around her eyes. She is like ready to go for this. It reminds me a lot of the kind of rhetoric that was being pushed around when the 49ers were trying to build their stadium over here in Santa Clara. A lot of the same kind of rhetoric, billionaires trying to assuage, legitimate community concerns. So long story short, they moved towards a ballot measure. They even had some polling that they took, and the polling told them that, it was pretty much a 50% shot. And eventually, given all the factors involved, they decided to pull the measure and not actually go to the ballot this year with it. So it hasn't killed the entire project. But to be honest, I haven't heard a whole lot about the project since they pulled the ballot measure. So not sure what's moving forward, or if they're just trying to do some backroom, smoky room dealings. But we'll probably learn more about it in 2025, I would imagine, if things are going to happen. If not, so
Bye.
be it. Bye. see you later. And I'm sure the cranes and other animals living out there in the wilderness will appreciate it. Appreciate their freedom. So there was also a bunch of local news happening and local political news happening almost on a constant basis. It seemed like every time we thought we'd take a week off, something popped up. And in January, all sorts of manner of stuff started popping off, including a surprise announcement from the chief of police in San Jose.
The Bay Area's largest city is in search for a new police chief. San Jose's top cop announced today he's retiring from SJPD and taking over as chief of investigations for the Santa Clara County DA's office.
NBC Bay Area's Damian Trujillo first broke the news on Instagram. He's at City Hall now with the next steps.
The announcement came as a big surprise to many in the community, but it was perhaps the worst kept secret here at City Hall and within the police department. In a statement, Police Chief Tony Mata said the decision was not easy. There's a moment during the San Jose Black Lives Matter march that the president of the local NAACP says he remembers most. San Jose Police Chief Tony Mata marching with his high school daughter, despite the risk both faced of being criticized by members of the department or friends at school.
All the stuff she's going through. But for her to want to come out and march and dad say, I'm marching with you, despite what other officers thought and said of him. That's why I have some of the utmost respect and care for Chief Mata. I love him as a brother.
Today, after 28 years on the force.
Yeah, but his employees still shot the councilman with a rubber bullet.
That's very true. Real quick, rest in peace. Jeff Moore just recently passed away, actually, this month. Reverend Jeff Moore, former NAACP president. But so much respect to him and his family. But it wasn't on Chief Mata's watch that the councilman was shot. But yeah.
His retirement.
Still.
The final 3 years were as police chief.
and has, I think, done a very good job of building trust with our community. You go out into the neighborhoods and you will see Chief Mata out there interacting with our very diverse community across San Jose.
Mata will get his full retirement with the city of San Jose. The city is still doing the math on how much that adds up to. His new job will be down the street from the police department inside the DA's office. In a statement, the chief pointed to his collaboration with community groups and city leaders in helping him run the department effectively. He leaves at a time when homicides in San Jose are at national lows, and his detectives have solved almost all of them. Now the search is on for a new chief.
Someone who's going to build on that foundation of community engagement, community policing, trust and transparency, and earning the respect and trust of both the rank and file officers as well as community members.
Community groups say they'll be hands-on during the recruitment and hiring process.
I'm not going to say I would like to be a part of it. We expect to be a part of it. We and several other community groups that I'm in partnership with throughout this community on both sides of the table, I guess you would say. I expect us all to be part of the process of the interviewing and the selection of a police chief.
The city manager will begin that nationwide search, which no doubt will include internal candidates and narrow the list to 3 finalists. Then the city council will vote to hire the person charged with protecting one of the safest big cities in the country. In San Jose, Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
I'm not trying to knock the hustle, but shouldn't his pension be fucking deferred while he's working over there at the DA's office?
It's pretty common practice. A lot of folks, double, triple dipping like this, right? So it happens at management positions a lot too, and not typically in police departments, but like city managers. There's a city manager in Los Gatos who's collecting a pension from San Jose. There's a city manager or a former city manager of Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, and deputy in San Jose who's collecting a pension from all 3 of those cities. So yes, it should. But it's not a bad gig if you can get it, right? Move over to the DA's office, get out of the slings and arrows of the PD, and do some internal investigation and analyst work, and get your pay and get your pension, and doing pretty well for yourself, Chief Mata, I would have to say. Later in the year, there was a process to replace him, and I believe it was an internal choice made. Chief Joseph now, who was promoted from within the department to be the new chief, so he is now in charge. And then it was Chief Garcia who was in charge at the time of the councilman's incident, shall we say, during the George Floyd protests. But he has also since moved on to other city, I believe Dallas, right, in Texas. So all sorts of moving and shaking within the San Jose Police Department this year.
So we also had, I think we had predicted actually at the end of 2023 that people were going to tire of recalls, and that we weren't going to see recalls, and if we did see them, that they would tend to be less successful. And whoopsie daisy. Yeah,
sometimes valued viewer and listener, we are not correct. But that happens because people are sometimes not correct. Anyway, but yes, we did predict based on what we had been feeling that was true. But unfortunately, fortunately, however you look at things, it was recall happy this year. And we saw the first inkling of it in January when there was a rally against the Oakland mayor and the DA of Alameda County, which eventually did come to fruition in recall.
There was a rally today outside of the West Oakland market where a longtime clerk was shot and killed. Speakers say elected officials aren't doing enough to crack down on violence. Our crime reporter Henry Lee was there, and he joins us live from Oakland.
So real quick, after having lived in Oakland for just about less than a month, everything is out in front of a corner market here. It's like an old city where there's just like a lot of corner stores. So if I'm not saying you should shoot people, but if you do and you do it in Oakland, you could probably say it was right next to such and such a fucking grocery store or whatever. But that's just because there's a liquor store everywhere, because there's actually not that many big grocery stores here.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like saying there was a violent incident at a single family home in San Jose,
or near a Starbucks.
Right. Starbucks across the street from a Starbucks.
Right.
They're saying, Henry.
Christina, they're fed up with the mayor and the DA, saying there have been too many lives lost on the streets of Oakland and that more needs to be done.
Nobody should not go to work fearing that one day they might get killed.
There is no tomorrow if we don't do something today.
Local community leaders.
I like how the fucking person that owns the market is like, fuck this, and shut the market when these people showed up.
Market in West Oakland, almost a week after longtime clerk Maged Alazani was shot and killed during an apparent robbery. Alazani
was shot in the market. Oh, that sucks.
Father of 4 sons.
I mean, I'd be hell mad if that was my liquor store guy. I already have my liquor store guy. My liquor store guy's hella cool. He like always apologizes because they keep running out of my energy drink. But he's like, man, you're gonna have a stroke or something, dude.
You're keeping him in business.
Very, very sad that we have to go through this. Not just in our community as a Yemen American community, but as a whole, the communities in the city of Oakland.
Speakers blasted Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao and Alameda County DA Pamela Price, saying they're not doing enough to tamp down on crime. Both are the targets of recall efforts.
There has to be consequences for those criminals. When I say those criminals, most of them are repeated offenders. And they're hurting everybody.
Retired Judge Brenda Harbin-Forte told me she's not taking a public stance on the DA, for whom she swore in, but she says she wants the mayor out.
She needs to go. There have been too many deaths, too much blood on her.
But you're at a rally to recall the DA, lady. You're taking a public stand, whether.
Right. Well, yeah, it's not quite there yet, but yeah, absolutely. It's like, well, I want to equivocate, but I'm going to equivocate.
Businesses, and we have to get rid of her.
Our businesses are dying. They're not dying because we have a bad product or a bad service. They're dying because people don't want to come to Oakland.
Derek Johnson is founder of Home of Chicken and Waffles in Jack London Square.
I had a customer last night celebrating his birthday, go to get his car was stolen. Oh my God. Had to sit there, wait over an hour and a half for police who never showed. Sister had to come from San Jose to pick him up.
We are angry.
Friend, if you live in Oakland, your car just got stolen and that sucks. But friend, you can take the bus. In fact, you tell the bus driver, you're like, hey man, I don't really take the bus. My car got stolen. Does this go by this place? Bus driver's gonna be like, get on.
Yeah,
not
right.
even charge you a bus fare.
I'll get you where you need to go.
Out for people to care about our communities. And as long as we are living in fear, you should be fearful of your seats.
Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like.
So this guy doesn't know how to do a call and a callback. You're not supposed to participate in the callback.
Oh, really? Oh, snap. So it's not like at the football game. Defense. You said the whole thing, right?
Group has been holding rallies at crime scenes all across Oakland. Their message to
maybe that's how you know somebody's shit's going to be successful, is if their fucking chants suck.
Very simple. Step up or step off. Live in Oakland, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
All right. That guy was hell excited to say step up or step off. He's like, fool, I'm from the town.
Dude, he was saving that all day for that report, man. Well, I mean, to be fair, chance or no chance or bad chance or good chance, they were successful in getting the recalls on the ballot. We'll find out later how they actually did on the year in review. But there was a primary election that happened here in California prior to this November election with all the recalls and potential California forevers. But even prior to that, we had the I guess culmination of a story we'd been following, I think, throughout 2023. The never-ending.
If we're being honest, we've been complaining since the beginning of Downballot that if you're in San Francisco, there's nowhere to take a piss.
There you go. Right. So finally, city leaders, once they stopped, conspiring with nonprofits to embezzle money out of the city coffers, they realized, wow, the guys in Downballot are right. We don't have enough public toilets. So a process was put into place to create some new public toilets. And one of them came to Noe Valley this year, unfortunately, with a price tag of $1.7 million.
I mean, that's because they put it in Noe Valley.
Right. I mean, location, right?
The toilet is bespoke.
You can't even get a studio, rent a studio apartment in Noe Valley for less than $3,000 a month. So far be it for us to complain about a $1.7 million toilet. But anyway, there were pros and cons to this. People on the plus side, the minus side, people love the ability to take a shit in public, behind a closed door, of course. And then some folks who are a little more worried about tax dollars being spent in different kinds of ways. So we're going to hear a little bit more in this news hit and talk about it on the other side.
Contested and debated public toilet in San Francisco's Noe Valley neighborhood has been installed. This is video of it arriving at Noe Valley's town square.
Punk rock colors.
Prefabricated
Very nice.
Project cost of about $1.7 million. The Recreation and Parks Department says final touches
Watch them drop it.
and it will be fully
Everyone watching, taking video. over at the cafe.
Well, that was it. That was a short news hit. We didn't even know if they dropped it.
Right. It looked actually like what happens when a tiny home is getting installed in someone's backyard these days with a big crane. So it could have just been like a little tiny home, and just the bathroom was sort of like the leading element of the home, you know. And who knows? Maybe someone will treat it like their home at some point. So congratulations, Noe Valley. You're not getting your shit together necessarily. You're just getting your shit and getting it off of the sidewalks and into a toilet. So congratulations. Hopefully more public toilets to come, hopefully with a better price tag. But the big news in March and in the beginning part of this year, the first quarter, was the March 5th primary election. This was for races at the federal level, the state level, and the local level to determine who was going to get into runoff elections in November, right? The top two advance in most elections here in California. And in a local congressional race that was triggered because Congresswoman Anna Eshoo decided to retire. This was in November.
Good on her, by the
2023.
way. Good on her.
Yeah.
She was like still like her brain still worked. So
yes, she could very easily have stayed in Congress for another 2, 4, 6 years. Her seat was safe. She was very safe, but decided to retire. And a slew of local Democrats threw their hat into the ring. And we had a primary election here.
Oh, remember one of them that I thought was
March?
a spy? Remember the one I was like, that guy's a spy.
Oh yeah, Peter. I'm forgetting his last name all of a sudden, but
well, that's one of the, again, more evidence in favor of my opinion, right?
Right.
You're like, I'm pretty sure he was there, but I don't remember anything about him.
He was around. But his name might come up here. But the real story in this whole race ended up being that, well, eventually Sam Liccardo was the winner of the primary, came out well ahead. He was former mayor of San Jose, someone we've covered here on Downballot for many years prior to Mayor Ed 209. But the real story was for second place. And it ended up coming down to Joe Simidian, our longtime county supervisor and elected official, who's been in this pretty much every elected position you can imagine over the course of his career, and then former Campbell mayor and current assembly member Evan Lowe. And wouldn't you know it, there was some crazy shenanigans that happened, but not what you might think. So we'll find out what did go down in that race here.
Today, both San Mateo and Santa Clara County certified their election results. That makes the tie for second place in the District 16 congressional race now official. And it appears that Assemblymember Evan Lowe and Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simidian will both advance to the November general election. They will join frontrunner, former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo. KTVU's Ann Rubin live now in Santa Clara County with more on what happens next. Ann.
Yeah, there are some big decisions to be made about whether either side wants to ask for a recount or if all the focus now shifts to November. This is the day all the votes get checked, stamped, and sent to the Secretary of State, both in San Mateo County and in Santa Clara County.
Today is certification day.
And what they're certifying is hard to believe. With all the votes in the District 16 congressional race, it's a tie. Assemblymember Evan Lowe and Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simidian each have exactly 30,249 votes.
Well, I was shocked. I mean, this almost never happens, and certainly hasn't happened in a congressional race in California.
According to San Jose State political science professor Melinda Jackson, it means both Lowe and Simidian will likely advance. They'll be joining frontrunner former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo in the general election.
If we do have the three-way runoff in November, the winning candidate very well might not have a majority, so, it could be a plurality.
The big question now, will either camp ask for a recount in the hopes of breaking the tie? If they do, they'll have to pay for it up front, and it could run as much as $500,000.
They are expensive, and they have to basically ask for a recount within 5 days after the certification.
Today, both camps were still at the registrar of voters, poring over ballot images. However, political analysts think at this point a recount is unlikely.
Unless they had a really strong reason to think that a recount would be decided in their favor, I think they're probably thinking they want to hang on to their money and just focus on November.
Evan Lowe just released a statement saying, in part, "I'm honored to have won the support of our community to advance to the general election." He adds, "This historically close race shows that every vote really counts." Sam Liccardo's camp said, "We welcome the opportunity to continue to talk to voters about the issues facing our communities." And Joe Simidian just released a statement moments ago saying, "Sometimes it takes a while for democracy to work. This has been one of those times. Call it a cliffhanger, a roller coaster, a wild ride, but it has absolutely been worth the wait." Now, we do expect to hear more from some of the candidates later this evening. The Secretary of State will now certify the election on April 12th. In Santa Clara County, Ann Rubin, KTVU Fox 2 News.
So yeah, that was a really surprising outcome. It wasn't surprising maybe that those two were close in in second place, but it was, I mean, obviously nobody thought it was going to appear to be exactly the same number of votes.
No, not at all. Polling, did have Liccardo out ahead, basically based on name ID. Simidian was behind him, also based on primarily name ID. He'd been around and running for elected office for a long time. And Evan Lowe was, pretty much a dark horse candidate, and really hustled, worked hard, had a great TV ad or two out there, and pulled into a space where he was able to tie Mr. Simidian. Well, as Professor Jackson from San Jose State pointed out, it would probably behoove both of those candidates to sort of hold tight and just go on to the runoff, because this is pretty unprecedented, and they're both lucky to be in there in the first place. So they probably want to, hold pat. But sure enough, someone did file for a recount, and the story ended up taking up the better part of our docket for the next 2 months as it was decided. So we're going to hear more about who demanded the recount and who might be backing them in this clip.
Today, the recount at the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters is winding down. Officials say they expect it'll wrap up tomorrow morning. For the past few days, staff have been doing something called reconciling votes. Basically, since the votes are counted in batches, they're finding the votes for this election from those batches, matching them to the correct precinct, and then recounting them.
It's not lost, and it's not we just found some in a shoebox somewhere. We're reconciling and pulling them from the different batches to make sure that they're in the correct precinct before we can say anything or any results.
This is mind-boggling. The county told us last Monday, a week ago, that they would be done last Tuesday.
Jonathan Padilla is the man who requested the recount in the 16th congressional race, where more than 180,000 votes were cast. The first count determined Sam Liccardo will move on to November, and Joe Simidian and Evan Lowe were tied for second. Padilla is upset the recount is taking so long. It's also
costing because he's paying for it.
He's working with an estimated $12,000 a day to fund.
The pace of counting has dramatically slowed down. We were doing 40 to 50 precincts a day. Thursday was 3, Friday was 2. They're still charging the same amount. There's real issues with that.
10 years ago, he helped run Sam Liccardo's mayoral campaign in San Jose. Now he's a tech CEO. Many questions have been.
I thought he was a cookie seller.
Super PAC that's footing the bill.
A home baker.
So I asked Padilla about it.
There's been absolutely no talks with Mr. Liccardo or his campaign.
Man, looks like a snickerdoodle.
This is done completely without any of their knowledge. And, they even want us to do things we're not necessarily willing to do right now, like reveal the donors. We're going to do that following FEC guidelines in mid-July.
As for the recount, voting officials say an additional 7 ballots have been accepted and counted in this process. San Mateo County is done, but Padilla's attorneys challenged 16 ballots that are still in envelopes there. Those were originally rejected because they arrived late. He's challenging another 16 in the South Bay for the same thing.
We don't know who they are.
I'm challenging all these votes, but I don't know why it's taking so long.
It doesn't matter who they're for. The matters is they should be counted.
In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
What an asshole.
Yes, Jonathan Padilla, local political hanger-on for many, many years, former Liccardo staffer and also Liccardo ally, swears up and down that Liccardo didn't put him up to the, demanding the recount, that no one did, that he's doing it of his own volition for the sake of democracy, to make sure every vote is counted. But yes, was funded by, PACs and PAC money that, typically would come from Liccardo's camp. So it did benefit in the end Liccardo to run against one or the other candidate. It would have been a tougher race for him to run against two candidates, and could have had a lot more vote splitting and make it harder for him to differentiate himself. So as it turned out, when it came to the final count, someone did come out on top in second place and move on. And unfortunately, one candidate had to go home, and we didn't find out until May. So this is like 2 months later after the original election day, we find out the final result. And here you go.
It will be Evan Lowe in the general election, facing off against Sam Liccardo in the hotly contested race for the District 16 congressional seat. Good evening. I'm Amadeus.
And I'm Dan.
That song was a jam.
Yeah, music is hot.
Every vote counts. Every election we say that, but this race was a literal example of that expression. The recount is now complete, and it's Evan Lowe by 5 votes over Joe Simitian. The two ended the March primary in a tie for second place, behind Sam Liccardo.
This is the race for Congressional District 16, the seat.
Look at that thing.
Anna Eshoo. It represents large portions of.
Oh wow! You know what that's the what that district is? That's the very high property value district.
It's the Bay Area's gerrymander district, and yet it includes, like, if you go all the way to the east and the bottom right there, that's East San Jose, Seven Trees, South Central San Jose, like some of the most poverty stricken, immigrant heavy communities in the Bay Area.
Well, that's great. They've been gerrymandered out of having a say by just to their west is Campbell and Los Gatos.
Pretty much, yeah. The only thing they could have done more here is maybe, like, I think they might have grabbed Atherton too in this district. But yeah, to tell my aunt in Pacifica that she and my aunt in Seven Trees have the same congressperson, that was pretty trippy. But yeah, this is the most gerrymandered district in the Bay Area for sure. Even with independent redistricting, this is a pretty gnarly one.
Counties.
ABC 7 News South Bay reporter Zach Fuentes just finished speaking with Lowe about the race, the recount, and what's next.
Final results Tuesday from Santa Clara County showed the two candidates separated by 4 votes in that county. What we were waiting on Wednesday were results from the other county in the congressional district, San Mateo County. Just before 4 Wednesday, it was confirmed that Evan Lowe picked up 1 more vote in that county, and Joe Simitian picked up none, meaning Lowe beat Simitian by 5 votes. We spoke with Lowe just after the final results were released.
This was a nail biter for many of us. In fact, I think I've mentioned before that I would personally experience going to the grocery store, and as I'm picking out some fruits and vegetables, one person says, "Congratulations, you're up today," and the person who overhears next to us says, "No, today he's down." And so it is living that experience. I'm glad that every vote mattered, and that
when he said he was picking up fruits and vegetables, he meant specifically at Andronico's.
To this election.
Multiple candidates ran in the March 5th primary race to replace retiring Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. And though the primary was meant to come down to 2 candidates,
Oh wait, no, you guys call it Lunardi's down there. Look, I'm already an East Bay person.
I was about to say Lunardi's in Campbell.
In California, and we ended up with 2 candidates exactly tied for second place. This means that 3 people would go to the runoff in November instead of 2.
Sam Liccardo won first place by a wide margin, and for weeks it was unclear if Evan Lowe or Joe Simitian won second place until the results revealed the tie for second. Though it seemed that all 3 would go to the November ballot, a recount was requested. The Santa Clara County Registrar's Office said recount observers challenged 45 uncounted ballots. The registrar determined that 7 of them that were initially uncounted were valid. The mix-up with that batch had to do with signature matching in boxes that those voters forgot to mark, affirming their citizenship status. There were also mix-ups with some other ballots.
There were 12 ballots in a batch that weren't counted. So that was an error, a human error. We understand we're going to, like I said, going to tighten the processes, but that happened in that ballot counting room, and they were able to fix that and count those ballots.
In a statement, Simitian said he was disappointed but not sad, saying in part, "The good news is the 16th Congressional District's long, painful exercise counting the votes is over. The not so good news, we have come up short. I lost and I concede. I trust the process and I accept the result." In San Jose, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
So what was surprising to me about that is that I thought that whoever came out on top of that recall was maybe going to start making appearances with whoever came out the other person. I thought they were going to at least like show up together at places, like to like show some like unity, or because they were both Evan more so, but I think Simidian was tacking to the progressive side of Liccardo, the same as Lowe was, at least in messaging.
Kind of had to, really, just given the political makeup of the district, and Sam was trying to, and really had a good chance to corral that conservative, more affluent, slightly Republican-esque vote, right? And the surprisingly, Simidian never endorsed formally in the runoff. Didn't come out heavy for either candidate. Didn't do any campaign appearances with Lowe like we thought he might. No matter what Evan did to court, that endorsement just never came. I don't know if that was the determining factor in the race.
No.
And we'll find out later one pretty handily. But it didn't help, right? And it might have helped if they had come out maybe campaigning together, like you said, around just the justice angle of things, right? That set up the runoff for November. We're going to hear more about that then, and then set up about 6 months of sort of waiting, as we have here in our elections, as we've discussed before. Just a lot of time sort of twiddling thumbs and waiting for things to happen when we could be having a lot more expedited elections. But in the meantime, things were happening all over the Bay Area, and we had the sad news that Anchor Brewing Co. Was going to be shutting down in San Francisco, but we had the good news over the summer that they would be saved by an investor, and we're going to find out who that was in this clip.
Revival of one of San Francisco's most beloved brands and institutions. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook. 10 months after Anchor Brewing announced it was closing its doors, there are new signs of life. The billionaire owner of Chobani plans to buy the nation's oldest craft brewery. Anchor, as you know...
News from other shows around here. That's one of the only people in the world who had the power to make Alex Jones apologize to him publicly when he said that his yogurt company was trafficking children.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations. So fantastic news. Chobani Yogurt coming in to buy Anchor Brew Co. and keep it afloat. I'm sure I'm very excited about that. I've always been a big fan of Anchor Brews. How do you feel about the Anchors?
Oh my God, Anchor California Lager, easy top 5, possibly the best hot day beer.
It really is. It's so refreshing, and yet it's not too heavy, it's not too light. A lot of flavor, really nice, really nice.
I'm not big on the main Anchor Steam, but it's IPA. I don't like that kind of beer that much. But their other offerings are fairly underrated, actually.
I think so. I agree. Their celebration is nice, or their holiday brew is very nice. I forget what it's called. And I've always been a big fan of Steam just because I am an IPA guy. But yeah, we'll learn a little bit more. We don't have to watch the whole clip necessarily, but
staple through
good
its
news.
127-year history, but could not survive a triple whammy of inflation, lingering effects of the pandemic, and a highly competitive craft beer market. Last July, beer lovers said goodbye to the brewery, forming long lines out the door on its last day. Now there are
good on the Chobani guy. I mean, I don't like no billionaires and shit, but he saved Anchor Brewing and made Alex Jones grovel. So I mean,
that's two for him, right? he's got some. He can have a mulligan on something. If he wants to get in, I don't know if he wants to become an investor in California forever. That might be a different story. But
if he'd like to just accidentally drop a bunch of money in I would say my living room, but that's everything but the kitchen here, I suppose.
I mean, maybe he'll open up a Chobani storefront in California forever one day.
Maybe.
And then in other news, and something that's just came to fruition recently on Downballot, but some genius decided to install bike lanes down the middle of Valencia in San Francisco without asking anybody. And so folks were understandably not too excited about it.
Well, it is back to the drawing board on plans for a bike lane in one of San Francisco's busiest neighborhoods. A widely criticized lane that now runs right down the middle of Valencia Street might be moved less than a year after it was installed. Ann Makovic heard from bicyclists and business owners today about this about-face. This was a big deal when this happened.
It certainly was. It was a bold plan, and it was original. Bicyclists driving down the middle of the street between...
It's definitely original.
The middle bike lane was installed last August, and the purpose was to make cyclists feel safer and create an efficient...
Look, they feel so safe.
Up and down the mission. But
he feels safe on his cell phone.
Ever since.
No helmet.
It doesn't provide clear direction options for bikers or drivers, creating confusion and danger. It's on Valencia Street between 15th and 23rd Streets in San Francisco's Mission District. The new plan could move the bike lane to the side of the street. Some local business owners we spoke with today are just fed up with the whole issue.
It's horrible. I mean, it's not an attractive part of the city anymore. Nobody wants to come here.
They don't ask us or discuss it with us. They just make decisions.
The reaction of people, this area is ugly now because of the bike lane. Lady, get out of here. Shut the fuck up.
And then they ask people.
In fact, some business owners are filing a lawsuit with the city, upset about the loss of parking and other changes in the neighborhood. And we spoke with one cyclist today who sympathizes with those concerns, but has been enjoying the ride.
Just purely from a biking standpoint, it's way better than any of the other bike lanes. From the perspective of it's just safer for bikes.
Yeah, he says with the bike lane,
he's a cool dad.
Not going to be hit by a car door, nor risk running into pedestrians wandering into the bike lane. But he also says that it's sometimes difficult to make turns onto other streets.
No shit.
He's going to go into the debate next week about moving the lane to the side of the street. The SFMTA is holding a public hearing on the issue 1 week from today. That is June 18th.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember a sort of bike lane issue that has been as controversial as this one.
Are you kidding?
There have been a lot of lessons learned for other
Lady,
cities.
you don't watch our show, obviously.
And you know what's next here.
Or maybe other parts of our city. All right, and thank you so much.
I'm glad they moved it because it's like fucking like during times where there's traffic, like maybe heavy traffic, it's not a big deal because everybody's stopped and you can just get through.
Yeah.
But like when there's kind of like medium traffic and people are kind of hauling ass or whatever, and then you got to turn right or left. I don't know. You got to be like, uh-oh. Am I going to die?
Yeah. I don't know what Sarah Donchi's talking about. She definitely doesn't watch this show. I mean, I had to be really selective about choosing the one bike lane story from this year because it's almost constant kind of a refrain in Downballot world. So good on them that the eventual decision was to rethink and rejigger. So they're doing that now. So everybody's happy, even the person who thinks that it makes San Francisco ugly. You make San Francisco ugly if you don't like bikes. So
the only more interesting bike story we had was that one guy that called the board of supervisors for Santa Clara County and said the bike people like just smell bad. Do you remember that guy? Oh, correct. Yeah, absolutely. We might get that on. Oh, you know what? There is another bike story later, but it's more like a bike mob story from the Safeway in Willow Glen. I was hell mad. Oh no, that one's coming. I got hell heated about that one. But as we got into the summer and got past the July 4th holiday, all sorts of manner of craziness started popping off in local politics, and it started with a raid on Mayor Sheng Tao's home in Oakland. So if she wasn't facing a recall already, there was already some smoke brewing come July. We're going to learn a bit more about it here.
After days of silence, a defiant-sounding Oakland mayor stepped in front of cameras at City Hall today and declared she's innocent.
And I want to be crystal clear. I have done nothing wrong. I can tell you with confidence that this investigation is not about me. I have not been charged with the crime.
Last Thursday, federal agents took multiple boxes with unknown items from Tao's Oakland home. Today, in her prepared statement, the mayor is questioning whether the agents had probable cause. She's also questioning the timing of the FBI search, which came just a day after those looking to recall the mayor announced they had enough signatures to trigger a recall election. She says the reality is that she's being targeted because she didn't grow up rich and privileged.
I want to know why. The day following the qualification of a recall election, funded by some of the richest people in the Bay Area, seemed like the right day to execute a warrant.
NBC has learned the search of Tao's home.
Yo, that fucking that shit was the date of that was decided a while ago.
Yeah, no, this you know, she can make a lot of hay out of it. And it was, you know, the recall was funded by the people she's talking about, and this, you know, this is unfortunate timing, but it's not as though these things, the processes that go into these decisions, you do take weeks and months, and a lot leading up to it. So yeah, they were not intentionally trying to fuck with you around the same time you were already being fucked with for other reasons.
Multi-agency investigation that includes the IRS and the United States Postal Inspection. Agents also searched 2 homes owned by members of the Duong family who own Cow Waste Solutions. That's the company that holds the city's recycling contract.
I didn't grow up rich. She's got like a late model, she's got like a late model Benzo, like
Hey,
white.
She's doing well for herself now.
Against the mayor's claim that right-winged forces are fueling the recall effort.
I have no power over, we have no power over the FBI, the IRS, the U.S. Postal Service. Those signatures that we gathered were not based on some kind of conspiracy. That's right. These are people, common everyday people.
Recall supporters are also questioning how much the mayor knew prior to the FBI search and calling for her immediate resignation.
Oakland is headed for bankruptcy. We are not going to survive this administration. We cannot afford to keep her in.
NBC Bay Area political analyst Larry Gersten believes the lack of information from the FBI may also impact public perception.
The FBI hasn't said a word one way or the other. So
yeah, that's how they do.
They clarify this. Her comments may fall short in terms of alleviating any concerns that the city's residents may have.
Despite questions and a growing chorus of detractors, Mayor Tao remains adamant she will not resign.
Well, guess what? I'm not going down like that. We're not going down like that. But I will not be bullied, and I will not be disparaged, and I will not be threatened out of this office.
The mayor's comments were all a part of a prepared statement. She refused to answer any questions. Meanwhile, tonight, we know that the attorney who represented her last week has officially withdrawn from her case. The mayor's office says they parted ways over the weekend. In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah, and her new lawyer was like, shut the fuck up. You're under investigation by the FBI. I know this is a fucking problem. Like, you want to keep your thing, but like, shut the fuck up, actually.
Yeah, this sucks. Just like a lot of these situations, just like this one we're going to come up with next. You know, it sucks, but shut up. Stop saying things. Stop giving them anything. Stop putting fuel in the fire. All the things. Just stop. It's what any attorney would tell you, and she didn't. And she kept talking, and nothing really came of this particular Ray. There were no criminal charges against her. There were some things that were found to be kind of squishy in terms of campaign donations, things like that, but nothing illegal, nothing that really impugned her necessarily. But it just didn't look good, and it doesn't look any better if you start talking about it, alleging all sorts of conspiracies that may or may not be happening, right? But it didn't do her any good, and it didn't make her look much better as the recall gained steam. So,
yeah, she should have really treated them as like two separate things. She should have been like, look, I don't even think I'm going to be accused of any crime, like officially here. But other than that, I'm gonna have to direct any statements to my lawyer, and my team's now kind of focused on this recall because it looks like we might get recalled.
Yeah, and helping the city, overcome this, budget deficit and the financial problems it has that predated her too. It wasn't her fault that the city was practically bankrupt. But anyway, also in July and over the summer, another scandal popped up that led to the firing, not recall, the firing of the county superintendent of schools here in Santa Clara County. We're going to learn a little bit about an investigation that precipitated that.
Tonight, a story you'll see only on NBC Bay Area. We were there as federal monitors arrived in San Jose today to investigate the Santa Clara County Office of Education. Our investigative unit has confirmed the county office is under investigation over how it spent federal funds.
Let's bring in
I like their backpacks.
Reporter Candace Wynn. Candace, this could be very serious here. What do we know, right?
Very informal.
Yeah, the investigation is looking
very
into
school-esque.
Santa Clara County's Head Start program, which is federally funded and helps low-income children with early development. So far, the investigation has found some of the money meant for Head Start was used to pay another employee's salary and travel expenses.
Because I thought it was important that these things be sought out and that they be investigated.
2024 was the first year Yadira Orozco got involved with Santa Clara County's Head Start program as a parent and now chairperson of its policy council.
Head Start, what it's really providing is the foundation for learning that children.
This spring, she started digging into the program's financials.
And that's when I started to come about finding misuse of funds for staff that wasn't even a part of the Head Start program. They were being paid. I came across staff or employees who were also on leave or who were not employees anymore, but are still getting paid by Head Start.
Orozco says she first went to the Santa Clara County Office of Education for answers, but didn't get a response. The county office did open an internal investigation. In late May, Orozco says she reported
That's a response.
concerns to Head Start's regional office in San Francisco.
It was important to reach out to regional because we need to know where our money is going. It's our program's money, our children's money.
Monday morning, NBC Bay Area's investigative unit was at the Santa Clara County office.
One of them looks overdressed.
When
Yes.
federal officials arrived.
She did not get the backpack memo.
With the Office of Head Start, but didn't provide additional comment. According to this letter from Head Start's regional program manager Cynthia Yao to Santa Clara County School Superintendent Marianne DeWan.
And there she is.
On April 16th, the regional office notified DeWan's office of their request for a formal investigation into allegations of inappropriate and misuse of federal funds. Yao said they received an additional complaint as well. Orozco believes she's that additional complaint. Head Start's regional office requested more answers from the county office's ongoing internal investigation. According to the county's report, the only misallocated position was, in fact, the Director, Early Learning and Care Initiatives, which is a county schools position, not part of Head Start. Between January and June of this year, the internal investigation found $131,000 of Head Start grant money incorrectly went to that director's salaries and benefits, and another $4,300 went to the person's travel expenditures.
Hello, I'm Dr. Marianne DeWan. You are Santa Clara County Superintendent of Schools.
We requested an interview with Superintendent DeWan to find out how that happened.
So did we. She didn't respond to us either.
But her executive director and spokesperson
Our people reached out to her people.
calling the issue an accounting error, which was promptly fixed and that should have been identified and addressed.
They were like, who the fuck is Why So Dankness? And why are they trying to get us to go on a podcast?
by the end of the fiscal year.
It was over a 5-month error. I mean, how can they explain that? If I hadn't come across this error, what would have happened then?
The superintendent's executive director also wrote, "We understand that building and maintaining public trust in the programs and services we offer is of
Like this
paramount importance.
chalkboard kind of vibe.
Of course, is critical."
It's about a school.
This is a program that's
Yeah.
for the low
Oh,
income
of course.
families specifically.
She meant Apple.
The money and the funds to go where they're not supposed to. This is our program, and we have a right to know what is being done with our funds and our program.
Orozco told us Santa Clara County's Head Start director was placed on leave in March. We reached out to him, but he had no comment. 2 people close to this investigation tell me that director had also reported concerns about how the county office was handling Head Start funds before he was placed on leave. With the investigative unit, I'm Candace Swen, NBC Bay Area News.
So we found out that the superintendent or whatever got fired, but I don't think we really heard much about that story after that.
Yeah, so eventually, after this story broke, and there had been a building political upheaval happening at the county board of education. Folks who just didn't like Dr. DeWan, the now former superintendent, so they used this as part of the fodder to oust her and to have a vote of no confidence and basically remove her from the position. And they've replaced her since with an interim CEO for interim superintendent, some old white dude from Southern California, Orange County, I guess, who knows nothing about our area, but is now the superintendent of the county school system. And there's a movement at the county board of supervisors to remove the county board of education's ability to hire and fire the superintendent and make that a voter decision, and then have the superintendent and the board appoint the board members. So all sorts of just political wrangling and personality friction. And at the end of the day, once again, it impacts the kids, right? The kids are the ones that get screwed. To be fair, misappropriations like this happen constantly. There's so many overlaid grants and funding programs for things like this from the federal, state, local, philanthropic levels that it's very hard for even the best accountants to keep up with everything and to make sure that every line item is checked. If in fairness, could have been that they were, all the money was being appropriated. Well, just, in the accounting, it got screwed up. That's entirely possible, but who knows? But it was used as an excuse by political enemies of the superintendent to get rid of her. And that's unfortunate for the kids, right? For continuity, because there were actually good things happening at the County Office of Education. So they're going to go through some stuff. And of course, the city of San Francisco always going through some stuff, apparently. So in the midst of a mayoral election where scandal and transparency were big issues, we've got the results of a investigation into some collusion between the city and some outside groups to embezzle a little money. We found out more about it here.
Former executive director of a San Francisco nonprofit has been arrested. She's accused of stealing public funds.
San Francisco's district attorney investigators say the money was meant to help fight crime. KTVU's Christian Captain joins us live with the details.
Well, shit, now there's crime.
Yeah, the DA's office says that the former executive director of SF Safe was arrested and is facing dozens of felony charges that for misusing close to $750,000.
My name is Kyra Worthy. I'm the executive director of San Francisco Safe.
San Francisco's district attorney's office investigators have arrested Kyra Worthy, the fired head of the now defunct SF Safe, a nonprofit that once partnered with the San Francisco Police Department. The DA's office has leveled 34 felony charges related to the misuse and embezzlement of close to $750,000, an alleged subsequent cover-up, and wage theft. Worthy was fired from SF Safe in January after an audit. The organization closed its doors after nearly 50 years of service. The DA's office is accusing Worthy of squandering $500,000 and using another $100,000 on personal expenses, including $90,000 for a home health care nurse for her parents in North Carolina. President of the Board of Supervisors, Aaron Peskin, called for an audit more than a year ago, worried that something...
Friend of any camera, Aaron Peskin.
Things like this vastly erode public trust.
If I lived in San Francisco, though, I would have voted for him. It would have been I would have voted for one person for mayor and left the rest of it blank.
Oh, yeah. Single shot.
I have formulated an inspector general to give our controller the powers that they haven't had up until now, the power of subpoena, the power of search warrant, and that's going to be on this November's ballot.
The mayor's office released a statement saying, quote, the mayor has been focused on creating greater accountability for city departments and nonprofits. She appreciates the district attorney's office work in this case and believes it's important that everyone knows they cannot violate the public trust by taking actions such as stealing, embezzling, or any other illegal activity. The San Francisco Police Department released a short statement as well, reading, quote, the SFPD thanks the district attorney's office for its thorough investigation and diligent work on this case.
Thank you for keeping us out of it.
Worthy was booked into San Francisco County Jail and will likely be formally charged in court later this week. We're live in San Francisco. Christian Captain, KTVU, Fox 2.
Wait, I thought that's the whole point of a public-private partnership was for the private part to steal money from the government. She's just doing her job.
Yeah, I've been thinking if you're not stealing, you're not really doing it right these days in those relationships. But yeah, she's obviously the scapegoat here. There's no way that she alone knew, had access to this information. There are checks and balances, and so someone else was knowledgeable or didn't say anything, and she was pulling all this crap and no one said anything, and someone found out and said something, and suddenly they've got to do something about it. So she was obviously the one who took the fall, although it looks like she was also the one primary perpetrator here. But yeah, just another in a long line of unfortunate scandals plaguing San Francisco City Hall, and that's probably why they've now got a tech bro mayor. So happens. Well, meanwhile, there were measures going to the ballot and people going to the ballot, and there were also measures being taken off the ballot. And one of them was a potential Bay Area-wide housing bond that would have funded tons of affordable housing units in the midst of our housing crisis. But we're going to find out why it didn't go to the ballot in November, why you didn't get to vote on it.
This is one of the most difficult votes that I will be taking.
Not often does a unanimous decision have such hesitation, but that was the case when the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority voted to pull an affordable housing bond from the November ballot, meaning $20 billion for housing projects is now off the table. Santa Clara County Supervisor Cindy Chavez was among the reluctant yes votes.
We know that we need the best shot at communicating with the voters in a way that helps people understand how important this opportunity is to getting housing built in our community, and that the timing was off.
The bond would have raised funds through a surcharge on property tax bills and distributed those significant dollars to Bay Area counties based on their contributions, including big dollars to big cities, with $2 billion coming to San Jose alone. In the North Bay, $2 billion would have been spread out among the 4 counties, and the other 5 counties would have gotten around $2 billion each, including $2.5 billion for Santa Clara County. Money Supervisor Chavez says could have gone a long way.
We have 12,000 homes somewhere in the pipeline that are affordable that just need a little bit more money to get over the finish line and get built. 12,000. So for us, this is a significant loss.
When the need for housing is top of mind as the state continues to clean up encampments and move homeless off the streets, why this vote? The BAFA commissioners say there is not enough support for the measure at this time. Only 55% approval in recent polls. Disappointing, but there's hope for a future ballot.
I would call for and ask that we all take that energy of disappointment to ensure that Prop 5 passes, to ensure that that very first step takes place so that we can move forward with this when it comes through again.
Prop 5 would lower voter approval thresholds from 67% to 55%. If this passes in November, an effort to get the Bay Area affordable housing bond approved could come in 2026. Finally, providing the money Bay Area residents.
That didn't happen.
Dustin Dorsey, ABC 7 News.
Yeah. Shout out to Supervisor Chavez, who in her last year in office took a job as county executive in Bernalillo County in New Mexico, where her family is from. So she's actually moved on already to that new gig. So congratulations, Supervisor Chavez, after pretty much 30 years in San Jose politics. But yeah, unfortunate, and definitely wasn't helped by the failure of Prop 5 to change the dynamics of how we pass bonds and ballot measures like that and parcel taxes in this state. So they're not going to, you may not see this ballot measure on the ballot in 2 years, depending, but it all comes down to the ground game. It comes down to the field. It comes down to the messaging, and it's just not there. The imperative, it's weird. You know, there's so many folks who are just frustrated. We're going to see about it in just a second here, of people living on the streets, right? And because they're seeing it now in their neighborhood, in their little enclave where they expected to buy their single family home and live peacefully, happily ever after forever. They're seeing it in their neighborhood now. And so they're realizing that it's a problem, but it's not a problem. It seems like where people see it as, you know, they're not equating the two, right? We talk about homelessness and housing as if they're not, like, even candidates use them as two separate issues on their platforms. And they're they're more related than anything else, right? We all know that all issues are related, but those are intricately related, right? Housing affordability leads to homelessness, right? So it boggles my mind that folks are not more on board for creating affordable housing to keep people housed as much as they are just getting folks off the street and out of their sight, right? It boggles the mind only as much as you start thinking about it and you realize what the problem is. And it's that people don't equate the two, and they don't see how quickly they themselves could be the victim of an affordability crisis and be out on the street. But anyway, in the midst of that, right, people not wanting to pass a bond to support more construction of affordable housing to keep people unhoused, Mayor Ed 209 in San Jose and others are finally getting on board with the fact that we have a crisis and we need to do something about it. So they're starting to propose safe sleeping sites, formerly known as sanctioned encampments. The councilman had a nice riff on this back in September when we had this clip live the first time. I won't go that deep this time, but I do want to do a shout out to sort of what everyone already knew needed to happen is finally happening, but for the wrong reason.
A controversial proposal is about to get a real-world test in the South Bay.
San Jose will open its first ever safe sleeping site. It's a place where the city will put up tents so the unhoused can come out of makeshift encampments and sleep in a city-sanctioned safe area. The site, though, comes with some rules. NBC Bay Area's Damien Trujillo is at Watson Park to explain.
This will be a pilot program for now, with hopes of initiating it at the beginning of next year. The mayor says it's worked in San Diego and is optimistic it'll work here as well. This is becoming a common sight. Police responding to the creek behind Watson Park for a disturbance call near an encampment. The mayor says the park has been problematic.
We had a lot of neighbors come out and say that they just didn't feel safe in their park anymore.
But a new program aims to change that. On a walking tour today, the mayor showed us a piece of land the city is leasing next to Watson Park.
Fucking mayor at 209 cut the hole in the fence himself. He's like, fuck this. I'm showing this reporter this property.
What he calls a safe sleeping site, perhaps 100 tents where the unhoused could gather and stay for an extended period. Priority will be given to the unhoused who already live in the same neighborhood, with the goal of ultimately providing the tools those people need to get off the street.
They can start to focus on drug treatment, job training, reconnecting with family, just basically stabilizing and starting to turn their lives around.
At least one park visitor likes the idea.
Yeah, anything to support the homeless.
There will be security on site, and there are rules for those who use it. No drugs or weapons, and if you don't accept the offer, you can't camp within a 2-block radius.
I think we need to start to ban camping in the areas around these sites and say, look, you've got an option. Here's a safe place you can go, but you can't just choose to camp wherever you like.
The Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association nearby is also on board and asks those who oppose the site to at least give it a chance.
I'm extremely pleased, and I hope people will look at it before they automatically reject it, saying, not in my neighborhood.
Ultimately, city leaders say they hope to create as many as 5 sleeping sites across the city. The mayor says this is not a cure-all to homelessness, but could be another rung on the ladder that ultimately helps everyone climb out of the long-running crisis. At Watson Park in San Jose, Damien Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
Oh, man. Well, welcome to the party, Mayor. Everyone. We have a crisis. We need rungs. We need all hands on deck. It's good to see that this is moving forward. There are multiple sites now proposed. They're going through community meetings to talk about it. There's still just as much grumbling from the community about what it's going to mean. And everyone's just ready to criminalize all these people all over again. But again, I don't want to belabor it like I did last time. I do want to say this, though. It's good. It is good that this is happening. It is good that we are moving in this direction. It is good that we are realizing as a community that we need to do more. I'm just concerned that we're doing it for the wrong reasons. And when the problem, isn't resolved as quickly as folks would like, are we just going to try, just go a different direction again until, someone quote unquote figures it out. But without consistency, we're never going to figure it out. So I do hope this succeeds. I do hope that this push does bear fruit. I do not wish ill on the mayor in this particular regard. I just wish that he had come on board and others had come on board a while ago, because we could have done more and we could be doing more already.
So we're going to move on to October. This was a story that pissed me off, actually, because of the way the news framed it.
My soapbox to your soapbox.
Yeah, maybe we'll let the story run, and I'll explain why this pissed me off.
Shoppers caught off guard when a group of bike riders started harassing people right in the parking lot of the store in Willow Glen. New at 10, KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters live tonight with video of the swarming teenagers here. LaMonica.
Mike, we spoke to a woman who says she saw the teens run into the Safeway and take items out. She says she saw them throw things at people, and she was sitting in this nail salon when it all happened, so she took out her cell phone and shot video of what she could see.
At first, I just thought it was one of the bike parties, but it very quickly, within a matter of minutes, was clear that it was not. They stormed.
Well, at least she knows the difference. Fuck. She's like, well, it seemed to be daytime, and I saw what appeared to be motorcycles.
the Safeway store.
Erin Ronan says around 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, she witnessed a large group of teenagers and some adults in the Safeway parking lot on Bird Avenue with motorized bikes. She says some of the teens ran into the Safeway grocery store to grab items as employees tried to stop them.
They also were jumping on top of cars. I witnessed them throw rocks and food at a woman who was all by herself, and they broke her windshield.
San Jose police say they received reports of a large bike party taunting residents, and several people were hit by rocks and other objects, but none were injured. Ronan said
not a bike party.
Also used smoke bombs in the parking lot. The woman Ronan saw being attacked did not want to be identified, but she sent these photos of her bruised arm and car damages she says were caused by the group.
I couldn't leave. I felt helpless because I wanted to go help the woman that was all by herself in the car. But clearly I could not have done anything with that large of a crowd. I felt terrible for the Safeway employees, that many of them were young.
Police say some of the juveniles were still at the scene when they arrived, but no arrests were made, and they canvassed the area in search of others who may have been involved. Bebo's Pizza is also in the shopping plaza, and the owner says he and his staff were inside working when it all happened, but he heard the commotion.
So I'd like to think there was probably some bad apples in that group. I don't know if they're part of the group or tagged along or what, but that isn't the norm when they visit. And they've been about a half dozen times that I can recall. So I was very surprised to see that.
These people are confusing. They're confusing some things here.
Yes. Do you want to go? I'll let the clip run.
We have seen police patrolling this parking lot today, and I spoke with the manager of Safeway who declined to comment about the incident. Police are still investigating, but the people I spoke to say they've heard a lot of chatter about the police response, and they say they're very satisfied with the way they came, how they showed up, when they showed up, and they did get people to safety as soon as they could. Mike?
All right, LaMonica Peters live tonight in the South.
So the guy, the pizza shop guy, maybe he's just not like super civically engaged or whatever. The other lady fucking made it pretty clear. She's like, I've seen this before, but this wasn't that. So there's a community organization in many cities, actually, Bike Party. It's like well organized, and they would something like that starts happening during the bike party. Something like that stops happening during the bike party. Like you are not doing that shit.
Right. I didn't see producer Dave DJing, so I figured it definitely wasn't Bike Party for sure.
Yeah. Also, Bike Party happens at night.
At night, yes, absolutely. I'm very specific, and I actually get notifications because they're so good about publishing their routes and letting people know in advance where they're going to be. I get notifications from my neighborhood association when they're coming through the neighborhood, and they're like, "Hey, just letting you know this is happening in the neighborhood. Go out and say hi, or hey, get on your bike and go ride with them. It's fun." This is not that. Yeah, it's absolutely a great time. And this is not that. But far be it for my former neighbors in Bucolic Willow Glen to fully understand that. But props to the one lady who did understand that. I'm sorry she had to witness all that and felt a little helpless. That sucks.
For all we know, she rides Bike Party.
Could be, right? Just very interesting to see this report coming from, seeing LaMonica Peters in front of a video rental kiosk, right? One of those vending machines right next to what used to be the video store where we used to go rent videos back in the day. Me and my brothers renting, Star Wars and Ghostbusters. So just the times have changed. The times have changed. Speaking of which, as we headed towards the November election, the District 16 race between Sam Liccardo and Evan Lowe got so interesting and frothy and spicy. And at one point, Liccardo had to back out of a debate that they were going to have on NBC Bay Area because he got laryngitis, apparently. But that's okay, because he found a way to get around having laryngitis in the campaign trail, and it was through the use of technology. I'm not going to say AI, technology.
Congressional District 16 candidate Sam Liccardo has no voice.
This is my second interview in text to speech, so I'm starting to feel like a veteran.
With less than 30 days to the election and a laryngitis diagnosis, Liccardo is turning to artificial intelligence voice technology. During a meet and greet in Palo Alto Monday afternoon, he used Speechify, an app that reads aloud text. He submitted a 20-second sample of a previous speech so the voice would sound like him. This is a clip of Liccardo's real voice.
We expected it would be a very tough contest, and it was.
And this is the synthetic voice.
In elections, victory goes to the nimble. We're hustling to do all that we can to continue to community with residents.
It was a first for me in my career to ask a question to a person and receive an answer via AI. Liccardo would type his response before.
I like how they mic'd his keyboard. You can hear him typing.
Highcock is the president of Center for AI and Digital Policy.
He was upfront about his laryngitis and why he's using it and how he's using it. So he was transparent about it.
UC Berkeley Associate Research Professor Andrew Reddy said your voice is effectively a fingerprint of you.
I mean, I think one of the things that potentially to be said on synthetic voices is that there are no established rules of the road in terms of how these things can be used downstream. And so we get fairly comfortable with the tools like these ones because we feel as if we have control over how they're being used. The corporation that's providing the service, right, ultimately right now has, ownership over that.
Liccardo's opponent, Evan Lowe, said their team is doing everything they can to get their message out.
A few months beforehand, maybe individuals were not paying attention, there wasn't the type of engagement, but now as we're down to the wire and ballots are arriving, people are paying attention, and it's very exciting now we can capture their attention and say, let's talk about how we can best impact the quality of life for you each and every day.
Liccardo is planning for a few more days of vocal rest.
I'm keeping to my doctor's orders and keeping my mouth shut until then.
In the South Bay, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
There's so many people in San Jose, maybe even Sam's wife, who would love to hear the words, I have to keep my mouth shut, doctor's order.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal because he was generating the responses by typing them in. So,
yeah, I mean, AI to me, would be someone asks a question, like he's not even there, right? Like someone asks AI bot Sam the question, right? And the bot responds based on whatever, right? Like AI. This is not that. There's like voice to text, basically. That's all it is. So let's cool our AI jets. I know it's the hot thing right now, but this is not that. But hey, good on Sam for trying to get around it. Personally, I would just cancel the meet and greet. That's way too awkward and silly to have him standing there like type, and then sort of smile while it's being played back. Like no, thanks. That's cool.
It got him on the news though.
It did. Like, to be fair, yeah, it got a nice free news hit. So hey, yeah. Luckily, they did at least ask Evan a question, so it got him on as well too. But yeah, it certainly had the desired effect. And like we saw, it didn't really impact the outcome. I don't think a whole lot. But there was a lot of suspicion around the late cancellation of the debate. They did reschedule. They did have a debate, so it's no one's saying that Mr. Liccardo did not have laryngitis, but it was very interesting timing. Anywho, as we progressed through the month of October leading up to the November election, a story was breaking in San Jose that did not involve the election, but is going to be impacting our down ballot docket and our local politics for a good part of the next year. So we're going to hear more about what happened, and then I'll give you a little lowdown on what's happening now.
New fallout tonight from that bombshell in the city of San Jose. A city councilman at the center of a police investigation. Sources tell NBC Bay Area he is suspected of committing sexual misconduct with a minor and soliciting inappropriate photographs. City Councilman Omar Torres insists that he is innocent.
NBC Bay Area's Robert Honda is tracking this story. He joins us from City Hall in San Jose with more. Robert.
Well, the details that have already come out regarding the investigation into Omar Torres has a lot of people here at City Hall reeling. Torres continues to deny the allegations. The situation has a lot of people stunned and curious. San Jose police served a search warrant on Councilmember Omar Torres, and sources involved in the investigation tell NBC Bay Area he was detained and had his phone and other electronic equipment seized. Those sources say Torres is suspected of committing sexual misconduct with a minor, soliciting inappropriate pictures of minors, and is being investigated for an unknown incident which occurred while he was attending the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. People we talked to who heard about the case were dazed.
I just don't know what to think about his guilt or innocence.
Well, Lorraine has the right take, but at the current moment when she was being interviewed, she said, I don't know.
That camera's right up in her face. Jeez.
Yeah. Come on, do Lorraine a solid and back off a little bit.
Seriously.
Something's happening, and I would like to find out exactly what it is.
San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan chose his words carefully.
All I'm able to say at this time is that this is an ongoing investigation, and we have to let our detectives do their jobs. I know our police department is working incredibly hard to find the truth.
In a statement, Torres said, "Today I was wrongfully detained and questioned by detectives regarding baseless allegations. Let me be absolutely clear. These accusations are entirely false. I cooperated fully with SJPD and turned over my passwords without issue, as I have nothing to hide."
You're stupid.
Yes, again, stop talking. Don't say anything.
Just be like, oh, I have one. Would you like me to lawyer?
Right. Attorney,
please.
Misinformation provided to law enforcement in response to a police report I filed against an individual for extortion and stalking, and is a clear act of retaliation from this person. We asked legal analyst Steve Clark about how to gauge the strength of the case.
The big key to the case will be, what does this forensic information reveal? What was said between the parties? Were photographs or inappropriate material exchanged? All of that will go into whether charges are filed.
Torres, through his attorney, says he will have no more to say about the case until the police investigation is completed.
Except for the big statement I just issued.
He says he anticipates Torres could talk publicly about this as early as next week. In San Jose, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area.
I don't know why he said anything.
In addition to the statement I just released, I may be talking again.
So,
yeah,
like, whether you're innocent or you're guilty, the cops are like, hey, can I have your passwords to all your shit? You're like, no.
Yeah, that's probably not a good step. Well, as it turns out, he was arrested. He has been indicted. He is sitting in county jail. He has been denied bail, even. So he is stuck in county jail awaiting trial on allegations that got even sketchier and a little bit more uncomfortable, unfortunately. So no need to go into it. But he is now gone. At the end of November, he resigned from office, making sure that he could collect one more paycheck before he did, and is now sitting in jail. And the council has decided to make an interim appointment to his seat for the basically the first half of next year. In the meantime, they're going to have a special election to fill the seat that is going to come up in April with a possible runoff in June. There are already 10 candidates filed for that seat, and the filing deadline is not next week, but I believe the week after. So we're going to find out pretty soon who are those folks that are going to be seeking the seat. And they're already in a mad dash to raise money and get people looking at them, but more than likely not going to say a damn word about this councilman or this scandal or any of that in their campaigns. It's going to be just about what they're going to do and what they want to do. And by the time the vote comes around, people will have forgotten about it. They won't even make the connection anymore. They'll just be like, what the fuck? This is another election. I'm being asked to vote in April. What the fuck?
So I'd said this at the time, and it doesn't absolve this guy or in any way, but any of these dating apps, they need to be verifying people's age.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. In this particular case, it went way beyond that, as was revealed. It was a cousin of his who was extremely underage when these things began. He was underage when these things began and continued as he was an adult. So yeah, these are people he knew in person from in real life, beyond dating apps.
Not great.
The most recent incident had to do with things of that nature and possible, his claims of extortion, maybe. But there's a high likelihood that these things did happen. So he is going to have to face
If
the
you
penalty.
like commit a crime against somebody and they're like, I'm about to tell, I don't think that's extortion.
Right. No, exactly. Unless, depends on what was discussed between them. So that's all part of the investigation. But as I said, they're not likely to indict a sitting council member unless they have some pretty good, proof, pretty solid likelihood of success in their case. So, and he hasn't said much of Peep since he's been thrown into jail without bail. So no more big statements, no more claiming that it's all bullshit. And the good news is that we get to move on from that. He doesn't, unfortunately, and his victims don't. But we are moving forward as a city and trying to put it behind us. But it's just another scandal in our local politics that we didn't need. Well, as we headed into November, all of those stories we were following throughout the year came to fruition in the election. And as it turned out, producer Dave and I found out we were dead wrong about recall. And so we're going to find out more about how that all turned out.
Well, county supervisor described the Alameda County DA's office today as a fragile ecosystem that needs to be restabilized. That interim DA will have to be carefully vetted because the next election for that post is still 2 years away. Alameda County DA Pamela Price appears likely to be recalled, so who will replace her? First, the Board of Supervisors must appoint an interim DA who would serve until the next election in 2026.
I want to make sure it's the most qualified individual who has a personality that can work with their colleagues, especially at this very sensitive time.
Alameda County Supervisor Keith Carson, who was anti-recall, is retiring in January after 32 years on the board. He says supervisors will have to carefully weigh candidates with the goal of stabilizing the DA's office.
That we get the ecosystem of the criminal justice system kind of at least back in shape with respect to at least the district attorney's office up and operating.
The first thing that anybody who comes in, whether it's me or anybody else, has to be to unify the office. Unify the office in mind, spirit, and goal.
Butch Ford is a candidate to replace Price. He was a 23-year Alameda County prosecutor and vocal Price critic who jumped to San Francisco DA Brooke Jenkins' office after Price became DA. Price later accused him of interfering in a criminal case, but that charge was dismissed. If he becomes DA, Ford tells me he's not interested in ridding the office of attorneys hired by Price.
The baseline for what it takes to be a competent district attorney is not difficult to figure out. As long as somebody qualifies and meets that baseline, then they'll be welcome to stay. But everybody will be expected to contribute to the well-being of the office and, more importantly, the well-being of this community.
They inferentially have received a referendum or a mandate from the voters. We don't want the liberal approach.
KTVU legal analyst Michael Cardoza says the board should listen to the will of the people.
The board's going to have to choose very wisely. They have to get someone that understands criminal law background, but just as importantly, with experience in running an office.
Price will stay on as DA until the recall results are certified. Until the board's interim pick, the office will be run by her number 2, Chief Assistant DA Royal Roberts, who was only sworn in as an attorney in 2022. Now, I did reach out today to 2 other DA candidates. One was unavailable for comment. The other declined to comment until the recall vote is certified. Live in Oakland, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
So we're actually just getting to the point of appointing a new DA in Alameda County after that recall was successful. The recall of Mayor Sheng Tao in Oakland was also successful. Differing situation there, where, as we reported on Downballot, they're going to have 4 mayors in 4 months, just about. So their Mayor Tao was recalled. In the interim, the president of the city council, Nikki Fortunato Bass, gets appointed interim mayor while the process to begin a special election takes place. Well, Nikki Fortunato Bass got herself elected to the Board of Supervisors in the same election. So as soon as that was certified, she jumped ship and went to her supervisor job. And so now they'll have an interim mayor until the special election to replace Sheng Tao takes place, probably in April, at which point they'll have ranked choice voting and one clear winner and the 4th mayor in 4 or 5-ish months for the city of Oakland. So again, just unfortunate for the people. Again, we firmly thought that we'd seen the last of recalls for a little while, but it seems like people's taste and appetite is even getting more intense, and we may even see more recalls soon. So we'll hopefully hear more about that later. But moving on, we came across another story broke later in the year, local, that went national, and we covered it a bit already on Downballot, but it had to do with the San Jose State women's volleyball team and a transgender player who was started playing with the team this year and last year, and has caused controversy, not because of who she is or what she's trying to do, but because, or what they're trying to do, as far as play volleyball, but how other teams and even her own classmates and teammates have responded to their presence. So we're going to find out more about what happened here in this clip.
Well, this morning, the controversy over a trans athlete on the women's volleyball team over at San Jose State University is heading to court.
Today in the Bay's Bob Riddell joins us live from campus this morning. A lawsuit's being filed now, Bob.
Correct. Good morning to you, Laura. And Marcus, the co-captain of the women's volleyball team here at San Jose State, an assistant coach, and 10 other athletes from 5 other universities are party to this lawsuit. They have filed this 132-page lawsuit. You should be able to see it on your screen against the Mountain West Conference, the CSU system,
kind of see it.
Head coach and 2 administrators. It is asking for a judge to approve an injunction to prevent this transgender player on the women's volleyball team here at San Jose State from taking part in an upcoming conference tournament. The issue of athletes biologically born male who transition to female and play women's sports has been part of the national conversation in recent years, recently with President-elect Trump even weighing in. Brooke Slusser, she's the co-captain who is part of this lawsuit. She spoke with Fox News earlier this week.
So it's amazing that other teams in the conference can stand up and just say, no, we're not doing this. And yet our school is still okay with having one person on our team that's causing all of these issues.
It's disappointing that it's come to this point because there's really been failure at every level of leadership.
That was Marcy Smith. She's a former NCAA champion swimmer and the co-founder of the Independent Council on Women's Sports, which is financially backing this lawsuit. She says some teams forfeited games against San Jose State because of the transgender player. She wants those forfeit losses removed from those teams' records and for San Jose State to forfeit any games that they won with the transgender player. In a statement, the Mountain West Conference said, quote, "The Mountain West Conference prioritizes the best interests of our student athletes and takes great care to adhere to NCAA and MW policies. While we are unable to comment on the pending litigation of this particular situation, we take seriously all concerns of student athlete welfare and fairness." San Jose State issued a very brief response. We received the complaint and will review and respond appropriately. We have no further comment at this time. Due to this controversy, San Jose State has provided extra security for the team at home and away matches tomorrow. The women's volleyball team here at San Jose State is set to take on Colorado State. Reporting live here at San Jose State University, Bob Riddell, Today in the Bay.
All right.
So the position of the whole network, because I say so, is generally like, fucking shut the fuck up and let the sanctioning bodies make whatever decision they're going to make, because you were no interest in fucking university women's volleyball before this fucking happened.
Correct. Yeah, this is obviously being used as a proxy battle for so many other things right now in our society. And it's really just sad that her own teammates, their own teammates are coming out like this and doxing her like this. I'm so sorry, I keep doing that like this, and it just flies in the face of sports. If you're a sports fan or a fan of team sports, it's just, you don't do that. You don't turn on your own teammates like that. And it's just ridiculous. And yeah, this, like you said, the sanctioning body says it's okay. The school says it's okay. The NCAA says it's okay. So until we hear otherwise, or until we have a more adult conversation around this, let them play and let them be who they want to be.
So on my side of this, I did keep an eye on it, and it looks like the player who was trying to do media hits only managed to get a couple, and looked like what we saw was failure to grift.
Yeah, it did not get very far. And the attorney neither as well. And the courts have rejected the lawsuit. Appeals court upheld that. So I'm sure they're hoping that it'll go all the way to the Supreme Court at some point, at which point we're in a little bit of trouble. But for now, the courts are backing everyone up, and yeah, the players continuing to play, and the team did pretty well at the conference tournament because no one wanted to play them. so they ended up in a really high seed, but they didn't win the tournament, and they're not world beaters. And this player is not necessarily, all-star Hall of Famer. They just want to play volleyball, so let them play volleyball. Fuck.
And like largely, this is like a manufactured issue because there's just not a lot of people, and I'm not even sure that the college level is the top of the layer cake, but let's say it is. Of the subset of people who are trans or gender nonconforming, a small number of those people want to go play competitive sports in any capacity, and then a smaller number of those people want to do it any more than like at their local Y or with their friend group or whatever, even if your pickup game gets competitive or whatever. And then an even smaller number of those people end up like on the college team for something like volleyball. So like you were saying, this is just a proxy for other shit, right? They're like trying to find, it's like a wedge, right? They're trying to get a wedge in.
Correct.
To come after the LGBTQ community. And it's thankfully it's largely not working because most people don't give a fuck. So
right. And they are trying to take advantage. It's sad. They're trying to take advantage of the misinformation, the misunderstanding, the lack of education around this. Like, this is probably the most specific set of the LGBTQ community, right? The T that's the most misunderstood out there and is most in the zeitgeist. They're trying to take advantage of that and roll on that too. And it's just gross, right? You're we can't just kick trans people around, constantly. Now they get drawn into these things as well and used as the punching bag for someone else's issues, right? It's disgusting. So hopefully this will get upheld and resolved, and the person continues to play and gets to play competitive sports because that's what they chose to do, and that's who they are when it comes to it. They are this person.
We're running a little over on time. We'll skip the fucking airport story because I don't give a shit what they call the airport.
Yeah, that's true. Fuck Oakland.
Fuck the airport, dude.
Fuck the Oakland airport from San Francisco Bay. But yeah, so closing out the year, another story that's going to be taking up a lot of our time in the next coming months. The scandal that came out in San Mateo County with the county sheriff being accused in a big report of retaliatory, discriminatory, hateful, bigoted environment in her office after being elected 2 years ago, and is defiantly refusing to resign, even though everyone is calling upon her to. And it's gotten to such a heated point that the county board of supervisors are taking unprecedented actions to try to remove her. So we'll hear a little bit more about this in this clip, and we'll be covering this a lot more in Downballot in the weeks and months to come.
Not backing down and taking it to the people. The San Mateo County Board of Supervisors is moving forward with putting a measure on the upcoming ballot aimed at removing Sheriff Christina Corpus from office. NBC Bay Area's Jocelyn Moran joins us now in studio with what voters will have to decide, and really, what's the sheriff's reaction to this?
Yeah, Jess, essentially voters will be deciding whether their elected leaders can kick out the embattled sheriff. Some today expressing support for this. Others are standing with Sheriff Corpus.
It's the latest push to oust the San Mateo County Sheriff.
We must place this on the ballot. Our sheriff needs to be held accountable.
The Board of Supervisors today approved a measure that is set to appear on the March 4th ballot. It will ask voters to give them the power to remove an elected sheriff from office for cause.
Their vote and their voice will be respected. A recall election, would come far too late.
Supervisor Noelia Corso says there was a sense of urgency to get this done. Sheriff Christina Corpus is accused of fostering a culture of fear and retaliation, as well as incidents of racism and homophobia. Corpus denies the accusations, calling them politically motivated, and is refusing to resign. Today, the board invited Sheriff Corpus to speak before them at their next meeting on December 10th.
To share whatever she would like under oath. And, including any evidence that she wants to present.
Tonight, the San Mateo County Deputy Sheriff's Association made it clear they support the board's decision.
We feel like this is a sign that our concerns, DSA's concerns, are being listened to.
But not
that DSA.
On board with the ballot measure. During public comment today, many voiced their disapproval for it and expressed their support for the embattled sheriff. That included Half Moon Bay Mayor Joaquin Jimenez, who appeared virtually.
I support
Sheriff Christina Corpus, 100%. And no, I do not agree to give you my vote, to give you my permission to ask her to resign.
A newly hired attorney also called on the board to delay the vote.
Urgency to you, the members of this board who are attorneys, is not a reason to eliminate due process or the sheriff's constitutional rights.
And Sheriff Corpus has said that the effort to remove her undermines the will of voters who elected her by a wide margin 2 years ago. We asked her office for an interview with her tonight. We did not hear back. Raj.
Well, you just asked tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So regardless of whether or not it's a witch hunt or a legitimate concern, this is going to be headed to the ballot as well. And voters are going to be able to give the power to the supervisors to remove someone that they elected. So very interesting to see what happens here. It could set a very interesting precedent regardless of what you think about this particular issue and this particular sheriff. But we're going to find out more as we move into 2025. Well, that concludes our look back at the year that was. We don't necessarily need to watch all of these clips coming up here, but I did want to give out some really quick awards for this year, because we have a few segments on Downballot where we go into some of the more goofy Plexian kind of stories, and one of them is get your shit together. So we're always asking folks to, cities, people, organizations to clean up their act when they've gone a bit off the tracks. Well, this year there was one city in particular in the Bay Area that went completely off the rails. And whether it was police officers getting fired en masse because of horrible racist texts, or it was other types of violence, a superintendent from the local school district bullying one of her deputies. A lot was happening in the city of Antioch this year. So I took the liberty of giving them our award for Get Your Shit Together 2024 edition. And we're going to learn more about one thing.
We'll run two of these, the first one and the last one.
Let's do that. Sounds good to me.
Antioch wants to rebuild trust between the community and its police department. It's creating the first ever police oversight commission. This comes as the city deals with the fallout of last year's racist text messaging scandal within the PD. Here's NBC's Pete Serratos.
We've got a gamut of experiences.
Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez-Thorpe says a police oversight commission has been long overdue, but it took recent events over the past year to get city officials on board.
After so many federal indictments, state charges, 2 investigations from the state of California, including the Attorney General's Office of the Antioch Police Department, these investigations related to racist text messaging that decimated our police numbers. It is very clear that we absolutely need an oversight.
The federal indictments, investigations, and the fallout from the racist text messaging scandal have put a stain on the Antioch Police Department. And today, the city took its first major step towards addressing accountability for the department by inaugurating its first ever police commission. The 7-member commission comes from a variety of backgrounds, ranging from community organizers to lawyers. It will be similar to other police commissions around the Bay Area, serving as a governing board to create accountability for the police department. Devin Williams is a longtime community organizer in Antioch and was selected as a member of the new commission. He believes the commission can help the community move forward and rebuild trust with the police department.
This is something that the community needs in order to move forward. We need a community, citizen-led commission such as this, made up of leaders who are well-versed in what the city needs.
While the specifics of the commission's duties still need to be hammered out, community leaders believe it's a step in the right direction.
In other words, the police are not going to be policing themselves, because that's what's been happening. The police have just been policing themselves.
The next steps for the commission will be to decide on leadership roles before holding public meetings. The mayor hopes the commission is up and running with those meetings as early as next month. In Antioch, Pete Serratos, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah, we'd been covering that story from the jump. We saw the fucking mayor walk out of his own city council meeting because he was pissed off at people. Like that was you're right. It was the get your shit together story of possibly of 2023 and 2024.
Correct. And later on in the year, we saw, like I said, a school superintendent in Antioch who was bullying one of their deputies, having an affair with one of their underlings and directors. I guess one of the directors got their desk put on a roof and taunted. So all sorts of crap flying off. And then the city asked for or offered money for other agencies to come in and help them with their policing because they had to lay off so many cops. They didn't have enough to adequately police the cities. They had to invite others to come in. So Mayor Lamar Thorpe, who, yes, was just understandably frustrated with the inability of his city to be run properly, was himself ousted in an election this past November in favor of this dude, who now gets to inherit the mess and see what he can do about figuring it out. So we'll hear from Ron Bernal.
Okay, across the bay, another political shakeup. Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez Thorpe appears to be heading out. You can see the race wasn't even close. And the former city Ron Bernal has 63% of the vote. As Kara St. Cyr shows us, the new mayor will have a lot on his plate.
Ron Bernal is Antioch's mayor-elect after a landslide win over incumbent Lamar Hernandez Thorpe. Resident James Davis hopes this means a new, safer chapter for his favorite part of the city.
As far as crime, it's wide open. The young folks, right, still in high school. I think they need more law enforcement out here, to really just be present.
Antioch saw a violent summer, with 20 shootings in September alone, 4 in just one weekend. The mayor-elect links the violence to an understaffed police force. After a scandal involving racist text messages, nearly half of the city's law enforcement was put on leave, leaving the public vulnerable. Bernal hopes to start his improvements there.
Really, it's a matter of the fact that we don't have enough people, specifically in the police department, to address the public safety issues. We need a permanent police chief. We need to have the 40-plus vacancies filled with people that are community policing oriented.
Hernandez Thorpe's administration was slowly building back the force, with 40 new officers added since the scandal. But the mayor-elect says the community needs to trust the newest recruits and each other again. His solution is creating after-school programs for kids and getting the district and the schools on the same page again.
Right now the kids don't have a lot to do, and so I want to reestablish the partnership with the school district.
Mayor Hernandez Thorpe acknowledged the loss Wednesday night, saying he left Antioch a better place than he found it. He told us over the phone he's confident he left the best resources for Bernal to better the city.
There's a host of things that I know we've built a strong foundation for that I think the new mayor and the new city council can take advantage of.
So that I got to say that over the last couple of years, that the former mayor Thorpe, I was pretty impressed with him actually, because he didn't play hide the ball. He didn't ever act like the shit wasn't happening. He didn't ever pretend that the buck didn't stop with him. He did a pretty good job of taking responsibility as the mayor of Antioch in a situation that I'm not sure anybody could have fucking even managed to consider even attempting to control.
Yeah, and he took the fall for it too, right? He took ownership and he took the fall, and that's a pretty substantial vote of no confidence, but not in him necessarily, but in in what's happening right now. So obviously the people of Antioch want them to get their shit together, but it was I certainly don't think it was Mayor Hernandez Thorpe's fault in any way. He was dealing with a shit hand and doing the best he could to deal with that. And he owned it every single time. He never minced words about it. So good on him. I hope he lands in a good spot and finds a better place where he doesn't have to deal with all the slings and arrows anymore. Well,
what would a year in review be without some story about the Millennium Tower, the leaning tower of the leaning tower of the visit of the Embarcadero? Is that right?
The leaning tower of Salesforce Plaza. Yeah. Well, oddly enough, we were able to find a story that had nothing to do with the leaning of the tower and had everything to do with the windows. So they really need. It could also be a contender for Get Your Shit Together, but you know what? The Millennium Tower is in its own division at this point on Downballot. So here's the latest story before we get out of here.
It has been more than a year since retrofit work was completed on San Francisco's Millennium Tower to stop it from sinking and leaning any further. The high-rise appears to be mostly stabilized now, but there's a different problem with its windows. It's only partially been addressed. NBC Bay Area's investigative reporter Jackson Vanderbrecken tells us Millennium residents could soon pay a hefty price just for leaving their windows open at the wrong time.
On any given day, you can see windows open here at the Millennium Tower. For most buildings, that wouldn't be a problem, but it could soon cost residents big time.
You may remember this video, taken during a windstorm in March of last year. That dangling 49th level window eventually slammed against the high-rise, sending bits of glass flying across the street, breaking windows at the Salesforce East building. Luckily, no one was injured. The city had already put the Millennium on notice 3 years earlier, after a different window broke away and fell to the pavement below. The tower agreed to replace the support arms with stronger ones to better secure its windows in high winds. While the work has finally started, city officials tell us only a third have been upgraded so far.
I mean, obviously the progress has been very...
And there he is.
Very slow.
Where's Willie Brown?
City Supervisor Aaron Peskin says he's convinced the tower is now taking window safety seriously.
The good news is they are actually now replacing 8 windows every day, every working day of the week.
But even at that pace, Millennium windows would still be vulnerable this winter when storms return. So the tower's governing board wants to fine owners up to $10,000 for leaving a window open while they're gone or during a windstorm, even if they're home. And they want to make owners solely responsible for any damage caused by the windows.
Well, that's what I'd want too.
Frankly, it sounds a little crazy to me.
Attorney Sandra Gottlieb is an expert on condo association laws. She says while it may sound extreme, the circumstances could justify the $10,000 fine under the law.
It is incumbent upon the board to make sure that the residents and the structure itself is properly protected.
The tower says the fine is designed to deter negligent behavior and preserve the safety and well-being of residents and neighbors. And the final penalty could end up being less than $10,000. But that won't be the end of the tower's headaches. It's still dealing with drain backups that its own engineer warned could be an unpleasant byproduct of continued tilting. The problem is so bad, residents are being urged to clean out lines as a preventative measure.
Just leave the key in there, okay? It should be good, yeah.
Jen Nielsen and her husband, Mehrdad Mustafavi, recently put on hazmat suits just to tour their third-floor condo. They moved out last year when the kitchen sink overflowed with sewage. Then, in March, another backup in the laundry area.
Okay, so what am I looking at here? Oh, see the new damage? Oh, look at the rug.
While it is now tilting 29 inches at the top, the association blames residents for the backups.
Wait, what?
Either for flushing sanitary wipes or in the most recent backup, using the wrong detergent.
This is the first time I've been here. It's thick and gelatinous.
Yeah.
Over here is like a gummy, like spilled jam.
His unit left unremarkable with black mold. Mustafavi recently filed this $7 million lawsuit, blaming the Homeowners Association for negligently maintaining the plumbing.
You know, nice guys don't have to finish last, even though it sure seems to feel like that.
The tower says it believes the lawsuit is without merit. For all the problems, Supervisor Peskin says he's finally found one thing to give him hope.
You know, the Millennium Tower, sinking, tilting, window failures, sewer backups, but at least the windows are about to be finished.
Now, if you have a story for our investigative unit, you can.
Oh man, what I love about this story, this clip, is that like it starts out as, oh, it's the windows, right? Oh, the tilting is fixed. So the first half of the story is about the windows, and then the second half of the story is all about the tilting again and all the bullshit it's causing with the sewage and the backups and everything else. So you just can't escape it at all. Oh man,
This is
but at
just
least
like
the windows are going to be replaced.
This is just like shoddy construction on what's supposed to be luxury living, and it's not
100%.
new. This is just like the most extreme and obvious example because the building's fucking tilting. But like, I was looking when I was looking for places. I looked at places that were in my price range, and just while I was out, you know, I'd look at places that weren't in my price range, and I looked at some pretty fucking expensive places that I was like, the fuck? Just some of the shit you'd see, like, and it wasn't like the building was tilting, but you'd be like, you could have done a better job painting.
Right. That seal does not look sealed. The carpet's coming up in that corner. The tiles
why is there adhesive that seems to have spilled on this granite counter here? And why is this still here? Like, I didn't ask any of these questions, but I was like, this is a really nice apartment. Why is this really old refrigerator here? And it's not like a cool old vintage refrigerator, right? It's like the just the shoddy stuff that I saw at supposedly like, nice fucking places was kind of astonishing.
And I don't want to put it on the consumer, but you do have a responsibility, I think, when you're spending that much money, especially to, do your diligence and really find out what you're getting into, what you're buying, right? Where you're buying it, what it is, who built it, what's gone into it, what's happened to the unit before. So who owned it before, if necessary. Yeah, so I do put a little bit on the consumer here for sure. But this building obviously has issues from day one and should have been torn down a long time ago. But they're going to keep trying to fix it, and we'll keep covering it.
It was really, really crazy because the place that I'm in now, there was a little bit of overspray paint on the counter, and I pointed it out when I looked at the place. I'm like, you guys take care of a couple of those things. I'm good to go here. And called later in the night, and the building owner was like, you brought up some concerns that we're taking care of them tomorrow. When can you come sign the lease? And I came in, and no overspray on the counter. There was a couple other little things, like some holes in the wall where there used to be like regular curtains, and now there's like vertical blinds, and they took care of all that shit. And this is a cheap apartment, but I mean, I couldn't imagine. Like some of the shit I saw at the expensive places I looked at, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right. Hopefully these folks get some recompense for that. I can't believe more the residents aren't suing.
They will be.
It will. It should be a class action suit of some sort. I don't understand why it hasn't happened already. It must be waiting for some sort of final moment or final just determining factor to say.
And
that
we may
can go
not
ahead and
know
do this.
about it. Just the news happened to be covering that one because they had video. So there may be
sure.
many more that we don't know about.
For sure. Get your shit together, Millennium Tower. Maybe you'll be our champion next year. But for this year, Antioch takes the cake. Speaking of cake, we had a vegan
cheese.
It's cheese.
What is cheese but not a mold cake?
That's very true, right? A milky mold cake. So our final segment on Downballot and Another Thing typically delves into the world of, animal interest, vehicle versus structure, but also just those oddball stories that don't really fit anywhere else on the docket. And this is probably got to be the most oddball one we had just about this year. And it had to do with, just watch the clip.
Every day there is a new plant-based food product on the shelves. And if you aren't vegan but give these foods a try every now and then just to shake things up, it might seem like some of them have come a long way and are starting to taste a lot like the real thing. And then there's cheese. Dairy eaters who try vegan cheese seem to be less sold on it. Some say it's rubbery or too melty or too nutty. But one company in Berkeley seems to have the vegan cheese thing down, so much so that they may have outperformed all the dairy-based submissions in a major competition until their vegan cheese was mysteriously disqualified. Climax Foods is the company in question, and Stephen Colbert had a lot of fun with that on the Late Show Tuesday night.
The vegan blue is the product of a company called Climax Foods. Why? That is the most unnecessarily sexualized food company name since Kyle's Money Shot Hoagies.
I'd try it.
Even though he used it as a punchline, he decided to see what was so special about the cheese.
I like it. You can really taste the foot.
After seeing his reaction, we sent our Andrea Nakano to take a bite herself alongside a world-famous chef. And while she did, she got the company side of the story about the cheese causing a big stink in the dairy industry.
With cheese being one of the toughest foods to make it plant-based, it was a huge deal for this blue cheese to be considered one of the best. But as one Berkeley company found out, this competition had more holes than Swiss cheese.
Oh, no.
Climax Foods in Berkeley works to create a tastier, healthier, and kinder cheese. This blue cheese was about to take home the gold.
I got an email in January that we were not just finalists but winners.
But then came a technicality that Climax founder and CEO Oliver Zahn didn't even know about.
Literally a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago, they changed their website to say, oh, now it also has to be GRAS certified. And then we were excluded just a week or two before the competition, which is a little bit, I guess, confusing is maybe one way to put it.
GRAS certified translates to generally regarded as safe by the FDA. The ingredient that became the center of the controversy is kokum butter. It comes from the seeds of a kokum tree and is not GRAS certified.
If it would have been a requirement, we could have given them another version of the cheese that uses cocoa butter, which is one of the versions we have.
This controversy has even made the rounds on Late Night with Stephen Colbert, bringing much-needed humor to a disappointing situation.
I loved his way to describe good blue cheese. It has to taste like foot.
Although this cheese is not available for retail yet, it is being used in one of San Francisco's finest restaurants, Atelier Cren. Chef and owner Dominique Cren says she grew up on blue cheese, just like this one in France.
I knew it was going to win because I literally, if I was blind and I couldn't see, and if he give me a test, I will tell him this is an amazing blue cheese.
With Dominique's vote of confidence, I put my taste buds to the test.
I don't know how you did it, but you have the green kind of moldy marbling inside.
The mold grows in the same way as the dairy cheese.
Yeah, and it really does kind of hit you on your palate in the back of the nose when you have it just like a regular blue cheese.
The foot.
Climax Foods is constantly working on the perfect scientific recipe to create the next best cheese. The goal is to make a product that tastes just as good as dairy cheese at an affordable price. Oliver Zahn doesn't want to fight with the dairy industry, just coexist.
Whatever happened, we were disqualified. I don't want to blame anybody. I just want to offer consumers alternative.
According
he just wants to make cheese, yo.
Restaurants right now, but the goal is to have them available for retail early next year.
All right, I imagine you have to be into blue cheese to like it, but curious to try. By the way, we did reach out to the Good Food Awards for their comment on why all this shook out this way, but we have not heard back.
That's I think for the people, for that company, that's what you call one of them good problems, right?
Oh, 100%. And they're getting a lot of pub now, right? I kind of want to try the Climax cheese now. I'm hearing all about it. So, well,
I'd
good
try
on
it.
them.
I'm not like big on like stinky cheeses, but I'd rather have like blue cheese than that nasty fucking blue cheese dressing they fucking try to give you at a restaurant.
Oh God, with the chunkies in it and
No.
on the wedge
like
salad
ranch that tastes like it went bad.
Oh right, yeah, with that, not the legit blue cheese, like it's like blue cheese flavored dressing, or
like
something.
blue cheese,
Right?
like blue cheese, a little bit of blue cheese crumble on a salad with some fucking vinaigrette. It's fucking lovely.
Some bacon bits, some fresh made bacon. Oh, on top of that,
Maybe some green garlic or some scallions.
Get me hungry. I'm gonna go have dinner now.
Speaking of which, we're like way over time. So if
my God. I'm so sorry about that, but
no,
the docket
that's okay.
was just...
I saw the docket and expected. We actually kept it pretty tight, but that's you don't wander off into the fucking wilderness like one of my other co-hosts does. So,
well, I'm glad
we'd still be on
that.
page 1 if we had a 3-page docket for tomorrow night's show. So,
well, I have a smartphone and a maps program to get me back on track, so should be fine. Producer Dave, thank you so much for joining me for another wonderful year of Down Ballot and for this wonderful year in review episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I'd like to wish a happy new year to everyone on the East Coast. It's now officially 2025 there, so congratulations to all of y'all. We'll be joining you soon in hell. But in the meantime, thank you so much, and really hope we can do this again for another year. Should I read us out?
Absolutely.
As we do.
You already are.
I hope to see you next week. I believe we'll be here again for another wonderful episode of Down Ballot on Tuesday at 7:30 Pacific. And if not, we'll be there the next week for you. Be sure to tune in for all the local shenanigans because Alterp is local. We are the 9th best local news podcast in California, according to some dude, for a reason. Please be sure to get your vaccinations, especially in flu season. Wear a mask where it's appropriate. Pants are completely optional. This is Audible Smoke Signal coming at you as we head into the New Year's festivities. Producer Dave, have a wonderful night, and everyone else, peace out.
And everybody stick around. We're doing red light after this. I just don't know what it is. Bye.
Bye.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah,
we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.